As part of the training for the Common Assessment Framework, there was a quote very early on in the training, which was from a solicitor from the Victoria Columbier inquiry, which said there has never been an inquiry that questioned why too much information was shared between agencies. And that is really, to me, why multi-agency working is so important. It's about making sure that we share information, that we justify that we're sharing that information, and that we're making sure that the key players in young people's lives know the important information to be able to help them and the young people and the families to make those decisions.
Isn't this just all theory? Isn't this just people just passing pieces of paper around? How does it really affect the child, the youth on the street?
It forms the foundation of getting you to talk to other agencies to make good quality assessments so that you've got a more holistic view of a young person's life.
Introducing new ways of working is always a challenge. There's always some suspicion about, is this extra work for us? What are the benefits for us? What's it going to mean? Is it actually going to help the children and families we're working with? Haven't we already got enough to do? Those are some of the resistance that we find when we're introducing new things such as the Common Assessment Framework.
How important has it been for you, Karen, in your work to engage with other professionals in other sectors? Is this what multi-agency work is all about?
It is. It can be difficult, but usually when there's a big problem with young people, or anything really, isn't it? The professionals just want to get together and work together to give the best possible service. That's what I found anyway. Initially, we did struggle with information from the police because of confidentiality. And although some police officers were very open about giving some information, others were, oh no, I'm not giving you that because I don't want to lose my job and things like that.
I've learnt that you can't beat working together. Working on your own, you're doomed to fail, I feel.
Why is that?
Because you're on your own, you've got no support. I've got a fantastic team that support me in everything I do. But to be able for you to succeed and help this young person, you need a lot more than yourself.
We've got a good rapport with the Youth Reach, where Derbyshire Runaways is based. We're in contact with them via the operational police officers almost on a daily basis, giving them information. It's developed slightly. We've set up a vulnerable persons unit at our force headquarters, and every division has been allocated a constable to actually be a missing persons liaison officer as a single point of contact just for the Runaways project. So once they get the information, if they need any further information, whether there's any violence involved, any specific concerns for this MISPER, then they've got a single point of contact in Richard Hill, who's a constable here at Chesterfield, and he can provide them with that information.
When I was about 16, 17, I left my parents' house. We didn't get on that well. We had lots of arguments and it just went really bad, and they ended up forcing me to leave. So I left with my ex-partner now and started living on the streets for quite a long period of time, over I think 6 months altogether. We went to lots and lots of agencies to try and find help, and like connections and the job centre, the councils, but because they weren't talking to each other, it was very difficult for them to make appointments, and they just kept passing us on to each other and to other people. So it was very hard for them to help us.
We were getting agencies that were passing around young people. They could go and see a housing officer and get some really good advice, but the housing officer would say, well, because of your age, you really need to go and see a social worker. The social worker would say, well, because of your age, maybe you need to go and see a connections worker. And they would end up getting within an almost vicious circle where people was giving them some good advice, but what was happening was there wasn't any outcomes, there wasn't any early intervention. And what we have found has happened is, because we're getting the referrals quite early on, and because the Common Assessment Framework and the team around the child are managing to come together quicker, we're managing to get those early interventions in. So we're managing to access accommodation, we're managing to access like budget holding funds in order to try and get better outcomes at an earlier stage, which actually cuts out huge amounts of work that would have been going on if we hadn't got those early interventions in.
The thing that works in Derbyshire is having people who have been around for a long time, are planning to be around for a long time, and are making a long-term commitment. People who know each other, are used to working together with each other, who can pick up the phone, get people around the table, make those long-term commitments, make things happen.
If you're not going to focus on things like, you know, staying safe or being healthy, then you're going to miss huge parts of what's important to a young person. You can't deal with issues around, say, domestic violence and issues around abuse and things like that without dealing with the fundamental issues as well, such as a young person's health, whether they've got appropriate accommodation, whether they've got stability in their lives. So what we have to do is try and look in a more holistic way, which is really about us all communicating with each other.
For me as a project worker, I need the support of other agencies. We work really well with social services. I've got a really good social work team who we all get on well. We've got a problem, they ring us, vice versa. Also the hostels. I've got one of my young people living in a hostel in the YMCA, and her support worker, she's a star. Any problems, she rings me, which is what you want, and we both work together. Can't say anything, you know, bad about YMCA. They're really good.
One of the things I've really learned is just picking up that phone and making that phone call to another agency, and making sure that the CAF is completed and you've got as much information on the CAF as you possibly can to take to a team around the child meeting. And that's any agency, because the more people that you've got at that meeting, then the better the service is going to be for that young person.
What does it mean for you about integrated working?
We couldn't do the job without each other. If you're constantly working against each other, you're at no benefit to anybody, but pull yourselves together and work together as multi-agencies, then it's a job well done, I feel.
The future's looking very positive. I think we would acknowledge there's still a long way to go, and there's still lots of nuts and bolts that we need to put right. But I think we've now got an infrastructure in Derbyshire that we probably never had before, and that's what I described earlier about from the local level right up to the very Children's Trust Board level. And I think that's absolutely important. If we're going to pursue along this journey, and we're going to really reach out to all children and young people's services, no matter whether it's the statutory sector or the voluntary sector, we've got to reach out to everybody that's working within children and young people's services. So I think actually the journey's a lot better. We're moving forward. It feels as if we're moving forward all the time. Listening to what people are telling us, you know, we're on the right track. So for me, it's very reassuring.
When we actually have cases that are solved and kids are happy and have a place to live, that's what makes it worthwhile, when a child is smiling again.
I've found work, so everything's like got better because of the Common Assessment Framework really, and NCH and other organisations like Connections, so it's all good.
I think that Every Child Matters is an extremely, I think it's a historic endeavour. We've got a really significant chance that doesn't come around very often to improve services for children and young people that are delivered by not only by local authorities but by all their partners, of working together much more closely and much more effectively and much more efficiently. And that is a really exciting endeavour to be part of.
The way to make it work is to get everybody involved. All the agencies, all the partners, the voluntary sector, the statutory sector, the county councils, the district councils, the police, get everybody around the table. Get everybody seeing that they can all make a contribution, they can all make a difference, and if we work together, then we add value, and that's what makes a difference, and that's what delivers success.